Hello everyone. This is a quick, hopefully quick, tutorial. We're going to walk through some things. There was a post on the .org by a friend named Merlinw. Had a question, need help with door opening animation. And no one had replied, so I took a stab at it, and Merlin had tried some of it and couldn't get some things to work, so I was just going to do this quick video to hopefully walk through the process and see if we could get it to work. So this is the door example.blend file that I had posted on the .org. I think it's probably still there, so you can download it if you want, look at it. It's a really simple file. There's a cube that represents an airplane fuselage. My very impressive modeling capabilities, huh? And then there is an empty. The empty is represented by this little crosshair piece that's also covered up with the arrow gizmos right there, but the empty is this line here and this line here. In fact, we can change this to wireframe. There you can see the empty. And then attached to the empty as children are the door object, and then also what I'm calling the door manipulator, and that's represented by the piece that's in yellow. To get these things to export into X-Plane, as an X-Plane object, we're going to need to put some textures on it. Otherwise it won't export correctly. So currently I don't need a texture for the manipulator, but I do need one for like the door. And if I look at the material right now, it's just a material and there's no texture attached to it. So let's go ahead and add a texture, add image texture, and we'll connect that here to base color, and let's open something. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a texture out of will this work? Let's see. I'm just going to grab a texture out of the citation that I've been working on. So let's go to objects, and here's the interior salon leather. So I'll open that up. As you can see, it, who knows what that is, but it has to have a texture on it. So there it is. If I go to UV editing, you can now see that's what the image looks like, and that's what that looks like. So we could take this box if we wanted. Well, here we have the door selected, and we could unwrap that. And let's see here. Let's first hit Control A, make sure that that's all like that, and then unwrap Smart. Okay, so now that's in the correct proportion. So for instance, we could take this UV map and make it maybe have this section and have those stripes go through the middle of it. You can see what's going on there. This really doesn't matter in the functionality of how the animation is going to work. It's just so that you can kind of recognize what's going on. This object then is the same thing. So we're in object mode. We want to hit Control A and hit resolution and scale. So that now has, what you don't want, especially when you're texture mapping, is you don't want the scale to be something other than 1. If it happens to be something other than 1, then you need to pick the object. Press Control A and do rotation and scale, and it will change all of these to 1 to keep the size and shape of the object. Alright, so if I go into texture mode and I hit U for unwrap, and I'll do Smart UV and say OK, now we have, there's all the shapes of that. And so let's scale that way down, and let's let's put that like maybe down here on one of the seats. We'll just grab that. So this is a dark brown, just so that we can keep these separate. We know what they are differently. All right, so there's our model. Now the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach this to an existing airplane. And rather than making something from scratch, we'll just attach it to like a copy of the default Cessna that comes with it. Just again, strictly an example. So I'm going to pick everything, and let's this object is 11 meters long, 2 meters by 2 meters, and so we're going to pick everything and then hit G for grab and raise the whole thing up, because I want it to be up above somewhere that we can actually see it. So it needs to be above this reference point and stand up here into space. So in Blender then, to get this to export correctly, we have a collection right now called collection. We could call it something different, like let's say sample door anim or sample door animation. It can be anything, but you get the idea. That's the name of the collection of all of these things. And I already have the exporter Blender to X-Plane plugged in here, so this is already part of my Blender install. If you don't know how to do that, read the directions that comes with the plugin, and it'll tell you how to get that going. To set that up, I would go to this tab then, and you can see now under my X-Plane section I have a root collection or other collections. So far there's no root collection specified, so if I spin this open, you can see this now. It's sample door animation is referencing this one. So we want that to be a root collection, which means that's the one, anything that is defined as a root collection gets exported as an OBJ. So we'll go ahead and pick that, and then we'll set this up. We're going to make this an aircraft part, not a cockpit or a scenery object or an instance object. So it's going to be an aircraft part. And I'm going to call this door underscore anim for door animation. And then I'm also going to the texture. This is where we probably need to do a little bit of homework to get this all saved in the right spot. So let me open up my Finder and go to desktop. I think I stored this on the desktop. Where did I store this? Yep, desktop. So I'm going to open up another version of this. Don't look, it's my community folder for Fussy Pants, what we affectionately call Microsoft Flight Simulator. Alright, so then I'm going to go to X-Plane, which is in my documents folder. Here we go, X-Plane 12, aircraft. And I'm going to make a copy of the 172, and I'm going to put it out here in the aircraft folder, and I'm going to hit paste. So there's my Cessna 172. So this is going to be our sample that we work with, not in the laminar folder. So inside here then we have Cockpit 3D, all these folders, all the different parts that make up the airplane. And I'm going to save this Blender file inside this folder, this objects folder. Or I could save it right here if I wanted to. I could really save it wherever I wanted to, but then I'd have to move a lot of files and things. So just for this example, I'm going to save that inside this objects folder. So let's go here and do save as. Let's navigate to that. Nope, wrong one. So aircraft, Cessna 172, objects, and I'm at door example.blend. I'm going to hit save. So now this is setting inside this folder. There's my Blender file. So if I come back here to Blender, it's going to make an object called door anim. It's going to be aircraft part. It's going to be the texture of this, of whatever texture I put on slightly earlier. What did I call that? Salon leather. Salon leather. All right, so that file I need to get and put it, make sure it's in this same folder. So let's do that. Let's go back here. Let's go here. Let's go. It's under my CJ12 or CJ4 X-Plane 12. Go to objects, and I think it was called. Just want to make sure I get the right one. Salon leather alb.png, that file. So I'm going to make a copy of that, and I'm going to paste it in here. So there it is now. So if I come over here then and go back to this guy and then pick my texture, we want that to be salon leather, accept. And so now this is ready, this whole thing, this sample object is ready to be exported as something called door anim. And if I go ahead and export that, I'm going to hit export OBJ, and of course it produced errors. All right, so let's see what happened. If I go here and I change this to text editor and I look at the log, material manipulator and door, an object door manipulator must not be a manipulator. Okay. So to fix that, let's go back to our timeline here. It's that. Oh, I know what's wrong. So this object is defined as a manipulator by this check mark here, and I haven't told that material, this is the material that makes that up, I haven't said don't draw this object with this material. So in other words, that's not a visible object that will show up, it's just a manipulator. So let's go ahead and go back to here and let's hit export again. Still got a warning. I think that's what I wanted. Stuck already. Alright, come on, work with me. Door manipulator, that's the object. It has the material. Oh, I know what the problem is. If you have something that has a manipulator on it, it can't be this. It has to be a cockpit. So let me think about this now. Let me see if that'll export. Yep, okay. So if you have something that's a manipulator, it has to be a cockpit type of an object. So since that exported okay, now we're going to look at what it made. So again, remember we called it door anim, And so here's the OBJ file that it made, and you can see that it has this texture assigned to it and all the vertices, and then here's the animation that it built. And so the way that this works here, real quick, let me just give you a little bit of a background as to how this gets set up. And get back to the timeline. All right. So if I pick the empty, you can see as I scrub the timeline between these two keyframes, the empty is the thing that has animation assigned to it. There's no animation assigned to the door. There's no animation assigned to the manipulator. The door and the manipulator are children of the empty, but that's the only thing. So the animation is assigned to the empty. And as you can see, there's a keyframe here, and it's a keyframe on the rotation of the Z axis. So it goes from 0, and then if I scrub up to 20, you can see that now this keyframe is at -90. So it interpolates between those two keyframes. The other thing that happens during that time, at this keyframe, at the first one, if I go here, you'll see that this data ref, custom slider ratio 23, is set at 0. And then when I scrub this forward to here, you can see that data ref then changes to 1. So as that data ref change, if you watch this value here while I scrub in between, you can see those numbers change. So in the sim, as those numbers change, this animation is going to happen. And so like if it was at 0.4, the door would be there. If I scrub further, if it's at 0.76, blah blah blah, the door would be there. So not only is the empty rotating in the Z axis, but also this value is changing that is attached to this data ref here, the custom slider ratio, and it's number 23 in that this is an array of a data ref, so it goes from 0 to 23. And actually this is going to present a problem because I looked at this before we got started. If I open up this sample 172, because we're going to modify this one, not in the laminar research one, but the copy that I made out here. This one, I think it's this one. Yep. If I open this one up in Planemaker, whoops, this button. If I go to viewpoint and then go to sliders, you see there's other stuff in here. This number 24 is actually controlled. That's the value that this 23 is, because this is again another confusing thing. This is indices 0 on the array. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything's like off. They should have numbered this 0 to match the array. I don't know why, but it's confusing. So this is actually in the array, it's actually number 23, not 24. But we're going to look for an empty one of these. So let's call it, we could use 1. They recommend that you start from the backwards, from this end, and then work your way backwards if you read through all this stuff. But like, let's do, we could do number 15, or let's just make it number 1, just to keep things simple. So if we want the slider number 1, this actually needs to be changed to 0 because it's indices 0, just like that. So this slider ratio now is gonna match up to whatever time we have in here. So if, like, let's say we change that to 1 second. All right, so it's going to take a second to go from 0 to 1 and basically change as these numbers change, it'll take a second and time to go between there. And we could put in like a crazy amount of time if we wanted to. I'll show you that once we get it working, but let's do that. So once we just change this, let's go ahead and save this again, and then let's re-export it to take effect. So click on that. This is still all set up the same. Just hit export again, and then that would be written. Okay, so we have this object called door anim for door animation, and you can see I made it quite a bit higher. If I go into Planemaker now, I want to add that as an object. So let's get the plane here somewhere how we can see it, and then I want to say objects, and I want to add an object. This one has a ton of objects, and then here I want this to be and this might present another problem too, because I don't think you can have multiple objects that have that are part of that all have manipulators. I think you can only have one that has a manipulator on it. So door anim. Okay. So there it is, door animation. You can see so there's our object. It's even backwards, or it goes sideways, but you get the idea. There it's attached to the airplane. Now the only other problem I have at this point with this is that there's another object here. This object is both the internal cockpit and the external, and only one of these can be that. So one object may be the cockpit displayed for internal views. That's because this is the object that has the clickable items in it, and therefore CPU access, making it slower to have in the airplane. Check this box for that object. And then I think you can have another one. Okay, so I'm going to turn this one off for external, and I'm going to make this one the external view. Just like that. Alright, so now we would save this aircraft. And I'm going to minimize that, and I think we're done here. So let's see what we get. I'm going to launch X-Plane, and we'll cross our fingers and see if this will work. So I'm going to do a new flight. It is the Cessna. It's a 172, and I have a bunch of them now. So I want this one, aircraft. That's the one that I made a copy of, because this is the one with the bush, and this is the one inside Laminar Research. So this is the one that I want. And I'm going to load in at Vimini because it's low on scenery loading, and it'll go quicker. You can do things like that, like load it Midway Island or something out in the middle of the Pacific where there's not a lot of scenery to load. If you have to load and reload the simulator when you're doing stuff like this, so find a place that loads really quick. So I know I went through a lot of the Blender stuff really fast. If there's portions that you didn't catch or you didn't understand, just watch it again and go slow, and hit pause a lot to see where my mouse is clicking, and maybe, just try to wrap your hand around what's going on. Alright, so we're going to go outside the airplane, and you can see here's our silly box that we made with our door, and it has a manipulator in there, hopefully. I don't know if we can click it. It's supposed to have a click spot on it. Let's go inside the box. It is not there. All right, let's do a couple of other things here. I want to show clickable regions in the cockpit. If I go inside, here's all the manipulators here. And I thought I was supposed to be able to do an external view, but I don't know if this is not working. Just trying to click where that box would be. If I could click on it, that would work, but a way to cheat it would be to say, not the map. I'm going to use the data ref tool to trigger this. Alright, so I just clicked on it, essentially. And you can see that that took a second to open. And then if you look at this value, this is the array, this is the ratio, so this guy here and the first number, you can see it's kind of out there floating around, but that so it's sim, flight model 2, miscellaneous, custom slider, ratio, and it's the indices 0 out of this 24 piece array. So there's if you count them, there should be a pile of array indices sitting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and another 12 is 24. But if you I don't want to do this, I want to do this. I want to see them all. So as I trigger this, watch this number change. And it's sitting right up until right near 1, so you can see like there's rounding errors and things. But so it went from 0 to 1 during that time. So if we wanted to change the speed of it, then we would just come back in here to Planemaker and go to here, sliders, and let's bump this up to 5 or 6. All right, so then we'll save this, and then we'll come in here and we'll say reload the aircraft in art. So now it should take 6 seconds in between there to animate between them. So let's go outside again. Let's get to a point where we can see this. Move my camera view up a little bit. So if I trigger this, if I would click on that manipulator, you can see that animation now goes way slower. So it takes 6 seconds to go between 0 and 1. 6 seconds to go between 0 here and out here till it gets to 1. We've just changed the amount of time that it takes to go between those two keyframes. And that is not done in the sim, it's done in Planemaker under this slider because we've connected. That's how we kind of wired it all together. So again, the animation of the empty is tied to this data ref, which is the floating point number change between 0 and 1 on that slider. And then what we're doing, we're actually invoking this command, sim operation slider. It's actually this would actually be slider number 1. It would be this command because we want to press this button. This is a the command that triggers that. So we would actually need to re-export this. That might be part of the problem. Export here, go, and then let's reload the airplane. Most of the time, again, manipulators should only be on one object, one OBJ file. Let's go back outside. Let's change that to where we can see it. Yeah, so I don't know. I've always done just one object, and there you go. We can mess around here real quick to see if we can get that to show up. What I would probably do is, because I'm not really sure why that would be, but let me go back over here to objects, and I'm going to make that both of these, and I'm going to say this is okay. That's nothing. In fact, I'm just going to kill this cockpit object, and I'm going to say save, and let's reload it. Not reload the scenery, reload the airplane. This might screw it up. That reload the scenery command is not reliable. Doesn't always do what you think it should do. Let's reload the aircraft. That's what we wanted to do. Now the VR config is complaining because the VR config references a bunch of stuff in there. Alright, so now that we took that object out, you can see it turns into a hand once it's over the top of that manipulator. And that is controlled again in Blender. We had it say hand, and then we also put a tooltip on there, open, close the door. So if we go back into X-Plane and go to our settings, and we could say show instrument instructions in the cockpit, done. If we hover over this, maybe we're outside, it doesn't show it to us. Let's see here. I think that's where it would be, but we're not on an outside view. It's this kind of stuff. When I hover over that, it would show it. That's if I was on an inside view, it would probably do it. But anyway, there's the trigger. That should trigger that, but I don't know why it's not. Let's go back inside and let's do this. So I'm still on an inside view. There it is. Except I'm clicking on it and it's not making it happen. Let's do this. Let's go back here. This is uncharted territory here for me. Let's go to objects. I'm going to make that an internal object only. File, save. This is how I would normally set these things up if I was doing a no fooling airplane. Always something to learn. Alright, let's see what we got now. Here we are. No, still can't click on it. I can invoke it here. Let's see here. So that shows up, right? And this is, it's a command. Sim operation slider 1. Is that what I'm triggering? Copy that name. Nope, wrong name. I don't know where that was a typo or I copied it from somewhere else. All right, let me save that and let me export this again. Let's go back to the sim developer, reload. The data ref tool plugin is invaluable when you're making things or testing things. It's really handy, as you can see. So that's shows up here, and then you do search, you get this window. You can put in something that you're looking for. You can look at commands, you can look at data refs, see if they're changing. Let's go back up, go inside our crazy cube. There's our door, click. There, it just worked. So I had the wrong name here in the Blender file. And I click on it again, and there is our door working. So Merlin and anybody else, I hope this has been helpful. If there's something else that you still don't get or still don't understand, ask me again, and we'll try to get it to show up correctly or work through the details. It's always something. So you can see it's a combination of how the airplane is modeled in Planemaker and how it's referred to in this stuff. And then again, remember that the manipulators, again, in my experience, the manipulators are always contained in one file. In fact, if you look at the manipulator file for the Cessna 172, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's do new, kill everything. Like if I open up, well, you saw originally what the 172 was like. Let me go back to the one that was in Laminar Research 172. Open this up. So this is the one from Laminar Research, and in here, this file is the one that contains the manipulators. This Cessna 172 SP cockpit.obj. So because these are checked, that means that this is the file that has the manipulators on them. And in a lot of development, the manipulator file is especially in the Laminar Research stuff, that guy is by himself. So if I were to look at that, it's this file here. I don't even know. No, it won't even import it. But if you look at like something like, let's see what this does. Let's go here and let's look at Model X converter. Or something like AC3D, I think might import it. Okay, so there's this imported it, but I don't even know how to navigate with this. I can zoom in and out. Okay, so you can see there's all of the things that your mouse interacts with all the buttons and knobs. You can see those light up in green. So this 3D model is what happens when you go. Let me show you this real quick. This the laminar one. Yep. All right. So if I start a new flight here, not the one that I use as an example to demo this little project. So if you see all these little squares and stuff, those green squares, those are represented here. If you see, all that corresponds with all of this stuff. So these are all the places that your mouse can interact with things in the as I interact with this manipulator. You can see as my mouse rolls over this manipulator section, it now becomes active to manipulate whatever that's programmed to manipulate. So anyway, long story short, I think aircraft can only have one file that contains the manipulators. And since we had used an aircraft model that already had one in there, it didn't really know what to do with it, and so I just deleted that out of this objects list and added our project that had a manipulator in it. So anyway, that was a short walkthrough, and again, if you have any questions, not so short, it's 40 minutes long, sorry, but maybe that would answer a few questions. Anyway, let me know if it works, or hopefully it answers what you're inquiring about. Good luck.